The Holocaust was a systematic killing of over 6 million Jews in Europe. However, after the Holocaust happened, the subject was treated as taboo and even considered a made-up event. The tragedy of the Holocaust can be represented by how war criminal Adolf Eichmann got away with his crimes, but is later turned into a triumph by Simon Wiesenthal's continuous pursuit of justice that ultimately exposed the horrors of the Holocaust. The genocide during the Holocaust can be expressed by the actions of Adolf Eichmann. Eichmann's role in the Holocaust directly and indirectly killed millions of people. He was a lieutenant colonel ordered to carry out Hitler's commands. He was also in charge of managing and organizing the deportation of Jews to death camps. As a result of Eichmann's actions, 363,000 Jews died by poison gas in death camps like Auschwitz. His other crimes consisted of persecuting 20,000 Jews in the Night of Broken Glass, sterilizing Jews, dislocating millions of Jews, and organizing SS officers to steal from Jews. The real tragedy, however, is how Eichmann got away with his actions during the Holocaust. After Germany's defeat in World War II, Eichmann was arrested by American forces. He was then accidentally sent to prisoner of war Camp Weiden and was transferred to Camp Oberdestetten shortly after. To avoid capture, Eichmann received fake documents from a former senior SS officer and went to Prague, Austria. Eichmann then traveled to Hamburg, Germany, and eventually settled down in Everson. There he took odd jobs like being a woodsman or a chicken farmer. Fearing he would get caught, he left Germany and snuck into Italy. While in Italy, he sought assistance from Odessa, an organization of former SS men, and forged another fake ID under the alias Ricardo Clement. Since the ID was only valid for 2 years, Eichmann fled again to Argentina. Eichmann then settled down in Argentina, and in early 1952 he sent out for his wife and kids to join him there. Simon Wiesenthal was a Jew victimized by the Holocaust who eventually became a Nazi hunter. Simon started out as a normal middle-class Jew, but when the Non-Aggression Pact was signed between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, Hitler was allowed to invade Poland unopposed, and this resulted in the purge of Jewish merchants from the area. So Simon was forced to leave his job. Meanwhile, his stepfather was arrested and later died in prison, and his brother was shot. To avoid the same fate as them, he bribed an NKVD officer not to deport him to Siberia. However, he gets placed in a concentration camp anyways. When the final solution, the plan to kill all Jews, was put into effect, his mother and the rest of his and his wife's relatives were sent to a death camp. As a result, all 89 of his relatives died. On May 5, 1945, Simon's camp was liberated by American forces. Simon was found to be barely alive and unable to walk. During his recovery, he decided to spend his free time in the War Crimes Department of the camp. While there, Simon witnessed an SS soldier trembling in fear on trial. Simon was shocked because the SS soldier looked weak and terrified instead of a superhuman monster. The former prisoners of the camp were depressed and helpless after having lost their families, and some have lost the will to live. Simon vowed not to stoop to their level and decided to become a Nazi hunter for the War Crimes Department. Simon's job was to locate the war criminals and build evidence to use against them in trial. After the establishment of war zones, Simon tried to join a variety of war crimes associations. However, most of them failed at capturing major Nazi war criminals because of the lack of Allied cooperation. Since most of the zones failed in finding Nazi criminals in hiding, Simon started a documentation center to try to gather information to assist the Allies and the Jewish government. Simon Wiesenthal's most famous capture was Eichmann, which is a hunt that took over 16 years. Having heard about the case from a former captain of a concentration camp, he looked for leads all over Austria. Simon played a major role in proving Eichmann to be alive and keeping interest for the case. Simon obtained an old picture of Eichmann by monitoring Eichmann's past girlfriends and wife. He also located Eichmann in Argentina when a stamp collector who was a former German colonel informed him that his friends in Argentina sent a letter claiming that Eichmann was there. He sent the information along with the photos of Eichmann and of his brothers to the Mossad, a secret intelligence agency of the Israeli government, to compare against the documents of Ricardo Clement. After years of evading capture, Eichmann was apprehended by the Mossad, kidnapped from Argentina, and shipped to Israel to finally face judgment. On April 11, 1961, the Eichmann trial began in Jerusalem. Eichmann was charged with a special Israeli law, the Nazi and Nazi collaboration punishment law of 1950. With special judges, international media coverage, and Holocaust survivors, this trial had a huge mark on history. Eichmann was charged on 15 counts, which consisted of crimes against humanity, war crimes, crimes against Jews, and participation with criminal organizations. However, his trial shortly transformed into a retelling of the Holocaust, with 112 witnesses describing the Holocaust and Eichmann's participation in the final solution. The testimonies during the Eichmann trial and the open discussion about the Holocaust turned out to make a positive impact. Formerly, the subject of the Holocaust was considered a taboo subject, but since the event was recalled during the trial, more people were informed and it gave a better historical account of the Holocaust. Eichmann's defense, however, tried to minimize his role in the Holocaust. When asked why he admitted to being guilty, he replied that he said he felt guilty because he assisted in the killing of Jews by obeying orders he was given. The prosecution fired back at him with documented evidence of him saying that he could die happy, knowing that he killed millions of Jews. This took away his main argument, which was obeying orders. Eichmann was found guilty and hanged. His body was later cremated and his ashes thrown into the sea. Simon Wiesenthal's endless pursuit for Nazis testifies to the justice that can be served in the aftermath of injustice. Simon's continuous dedication to hunt Nazis even after having the tragedy of losing his family shows how he lived his life to show triumph in history's darkest tragedy. Eichmann's capture proved justice was real and awakened the world into remembering the Holocaust was real. Horrific events like the Holocaust actually happened, and Simon Wiesenthal dedicated his life to make sure the Nazis didn't get away with it.